feeling?
Fine.
Not even dizzy?
No.
Let's turn around real quick.
Quite out of breath.
I can see.
If I'm not doing something because I'm afraid of what other people will think, then that is the dumbest reason to not do that. It is the dumbest reason that is stopping me from making a choice, especially if it's from a place of fear or shame. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, dermatomyositis, which is basically a type of muscle wasting disease. All of your movement tissue, so your muscles, tendons, and ligaments, they essentially waste away from inflammation. The condition had deteriorated, or my body had deteriorated to the point where they weren't sure if things were gonna go completely wrong in a bad way and I would die, or if I would turn a corner and start to heal. One of the things with the condition is that it can affect your lungs and your organs, and actually it had affected my lungs, so I was on oxygen all the time, and at that point I described the state of my body as just a barely breathing piece of meat. I couldn't lift my neck, I couldn't walk, I really couldn't do much. I could barely sit up just because it would compress my lungs and everything else, and I just couldn't breathe. When you're that sick, one of the things you really need to manage is your whole mindset, because you can absolutely feel sorry for yourself, and there's always room for that. But I was in a place, especially having run a small business and doing all the hustle things, where I really did not feel like my body had turned against me. I felt like this was my body telling me that a change needed to happen, and I could either listen to that or ignore it and see where things went. I decided that I had enough reasons in my life, particularly my young 6-year-old son, that I would do whatever it took to heal my body, or at least continue to search for what would enable my body to heal. During that whole period of time, it was remembering that this is temporary. Like, no matter what was going on at that time, the choices I was making, everything else, that being present there and not wishing that it was over, because realistically I knew there was a long journey, but I also kept in mind that even though I am sick now, I absolutely believe and love my body, however it is, and sometimes we forget, but I knew that the state that I was in right then was temporary, and it might take some time, but I was determined and understood that I was going to do the things that I needed to do in order to actually heal. And I knew that if I just stayed on the meds and didn't change anything else, that's how I would be. But I didn't want to be that way. I wanted to be able to be physical and grow with my child as he grew up. He's a very physical young boy, dancer and sports and everything else, and I wanted to be there and be able to participate as much as I could in his life. So I knew that at some point, I knew that I would need to change my diet. On that healing journey, I removed a lot of foods that caused me inflammation, but then I made sure to re-nutrient my body with foods that didn't cause me inflammation. I was drinking so much kombucha at that point, about 1 bottle every day, and I decided that I would make it. The way it works is that there are trillions of bacteria in your body, and everything in your body is a chemical process. So the chemical processes that happen in your gut send signals up to your brain and how everything else operates. So one of the things that we need to realize and work on is simply getting our gut biome in healthy order and balanced in the way it needs to, because that'll affect the rest of our body. While there isn't one magic bullet, kombucha and the good beneficial bacteria that is in live and raw kombucha can help do those things that we need it to do to become healthy or stay healthy. One of the things that being sick really made me realize was that we need people. Before dermatomyositis and my autoimmune disease and the whole near-dying experience to me after are largely different. So before that, I was cynical. I was a good bit cynical and like, I don't need people. I don't necessarily need a big network or community. The whole thing, my whole mindset around that changed when I got sick, and I really saw the bits of community that we had and have, largely the community that my wife had built, and how they came together to support me in my healing and my illness and everything else. So I think that whether it's a dad or a husband or other just all of my relationships is reminding myself not to take them for granted and to make time for them. That it might seem silly in the moment that my son wants to hug or wrestle or if I'm tired, and there's a little bit of guilt to it, but also there is that level of my son is going to continue growing, and these moments, he's not always going to want to wrestle with me. So maybe I am a little tired, maybe this is not the best time, but how much does he really want to wrestle? I can wrestle for 5 or 6 minutes and it'll be great, and I would rather do that than just go sit and be on my phone again. So it's remembering that these opportunities slip away, and I was in that place where it was questionable if I would ever have these opportunities again. So every experience with every person gets colored with that perspective of maybe this won't ever happen again. Maybe I should take this opportunity because I need to.